The phone buzzed at 3 in the morning, and I knew my marriage was over. Not because Eden answered it. She didn't even stir beside me in our king-sized bed. The problem was that she'd left it face up on the nightstand, and the notification light kept pulsing like a heartbeat. Blue light, then darkness. Blue light, then darkness. Can't wait to see you tomorrow, gorgeous. Seth. I stared at those words until they burned into my retinas. My wife of 8 years was getting late-night texts from someone named Seth, and judging by the heart emoji, it wasn't about quarterly reports. Aiden shifted in her sleep, mumbling something about conference calls. Even unconscious, she was lying. I'm Jack Halley, and I used to think I knew my wife. Turns out I knew about as much as a tourist knows about a city from a postcard. Pretty picture, complete fiction underneath. The next morning, Eden bounced around our Manchester Heights kitchen like nothing had happened. She wore her navy business suit, the one that made her look like she could fire half the HR department before lunch, which, knowing Eden, she probably could. Conference weekend in Boston, she announced, not looking up from her coffee. Tara and Leah are driving up with me, team bonding. Team bonding, I repeated, watching her pack an overnight bag with the kind of lingerie she hadn't worn for me in 2 years. Sounds educational. Don't be sarcastic, Jack. Some of us take our careers seriously. That stung, but not for the reasons she intended. My tech startup was hemorrhaging money faster than a punctured fuel tank, and Eden knew it. She also knew exactly which buttons to push. When do you leave? I asked. Hour or so. Why? Just wondering when I'll have the house to myself. Might invite Vince over, work on the server architecture. Eden's smile looked like it had been applied with a paint roller. You do that. Maybe you'll actually accomplish something for once. After she left, I sat in our empty kitchen and let the silence settle around me like dust. 8 years of marriage, and it had come to this. Polite cruelty over morning coffee. But here's the thing about being married to someone who thinks you're an idiot. They get careless. Eden had left her laptop on the dining room table. The same laptop she used for everything. Work emails, personal correspondence, online shopping. The same laptop with the password I'd watched her type 1,000 times. Success 2024. I opened it and started digging. What I found made my stomach drop through the floor. Not just Seth. There were others. Months of messages, photos I won't describe, and a calendar that read like a rotation schedule. Tuesday, drinks with Marcus. Thursday, dinner with Seth. Saturday, weekend getaway with whoever was buying. The worst part wasn't the cheating, it was the commentary about me scattered throughout the conversations. Jack's so pathetic these days, moping around about his stupid company. He actually thinks he's going to be the next Steve Jobs. It's embarrassing. I can't wait to get out of this marriage. Just waiting for the right moment. I closed the laptop and walked to my home office. On the wall hung my business license for Halley Tech Solutions, the company I'd been building for 3 years. The company that was supposed to change everything. The company Eden had just called stupid in a text to her boyfriend. My phone rang. Vince Martinez, my chief technology officer and the only person who still believed in what we were building. Jack, you sound terrible. What happened? Found out my wife's been running a side business. What kind of side business? The kind that requires lingerie and hotel rooms. Vince went quiet for a moment. Then, well, that explains why she's been so interested in your travel schedule lately. What do you mean? She called the office twice last week, asking when you'd be home from client meetings. Said she wanted to plan dinner. I thought it was sweet. Sweet. Right. Vince, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be straight with me. How bad off are we? The company, I mean. Honestly, we're 3 months from breakthrough or bankruptcy. The Patterson Industries deal could save us, but they won't decide until next quarter. Exactly. I stared out my office window at the suburban street where Eden and I had planned to raise kids someday, where we'd talked about growing old together, where she'd apparently been planning her escape route. Jack, you still there? Yeah, listen, I need you to do me a favor. Check our business registration. Make sure Eden's name isn't on anything important. Why would her name be on... Oh, man. Just check. While Vince pulled up our corporate documents, I made a decision. Eden wanted out of this marriage? Fine. But she wasn't taking half of everything I'd built. Not after what I'd just discovered. Good news, Vince said. She's not listed as an officer or shareholder. You made sure of that when we incorporated, remember? You said mixing business and marriage was asking for trouble. For the first time all day, I smiled. Smart thinking. What are you going to do? I'm going to give my wife exactly what she deserves. Jack, don't worry, nothing illegal, nothing violent, just good old-fashioned consequences. I hung up and opened Eden's laptop again. This time, I wasn't just reading. I was taking screenshots, copying files, building a case. Not for court, for something much more effective: public humiliation. The Anvil wasn't the kind of bar where tech entrepreneurs usually spent their Friday nights, but that's exactly why I liked it. Red Murphy, the owner, served drinks that could strip paint and minded his own business. Most importantly, he knew everyone in Manchester Heights and remembered everything. "Jack Halley," Red called out as I walked in. "Don't usually see you on weekends. Where's the missus?" "Boston. Conference." Red's expression shifted slightly, the kind of micro-change you only notice if you're looking for it. "Conference, huh? Well, that's nice." I ordered a whiskey and settled onto a bar stool. "Red, can I ask you something?" "Hypothetically." "Hypothetically, sure." If a man's wife was stepping out on him, and everyone in town knew except him, would someone eventually tell him? Red polished a glass with more attention than it deserved. "Depends on the man. Some guys, you tell them, they shoot the messenger. Others appreciate the heads up." "What kind of man do you think I am?" "The kind who asks hypothetical questions when he already knows the answers." I took a sip of whiskey and felt it burn all the way down. "So everyone knows." "Not everyone, but enough." "How long?" 6 months, maybe more. Started coming in here with different guys. Always introduced them as work friends or old college buddies. But work friends don't usually play footsie under the table." "Seth Carmichael?" Red nodded. "Among others. Seth's the regular, though. Real estate developer. Drives that silver Porsche, tips like he's trying to impress someone, usually himself." "What's his story?" "Trust fund baby who thinks he's a businessman. Daddy left him a construction company and some rental properties. Seth's been coasting ever since, making deals with other people's money." I finished my drink and left a 20 on the bar. "Thanks, Red." "Jack, for what it's worth, you deserve better." Outside, I called Vince. "Where are you right now?" "Home. Why?" "Feel like doing some reconnaissance?" "What kind of reconnaissance?" "The kind that involves following my cheating wife and her boyfriend around Boston." Vince sighed. "This is either going to be therapeutic or get us arrested." "Probably both." We met at a coffee shop in downtown Boston, 2 blocks from the hotel where Eden had claimed her conference was being held. Except when I called the hotel, they'd never heard of any HR conference that weekend. "There," Vince pointed across the street. "Silver Porsche. License plate says Seth C1. Subtle." Eden and Seth were walking out of an expensive restaurant, his arm around her waist. She was wearing the black dress she'd bought for our anniversary last year, the one she'd said was too special for just dinner at home. "What's the plan?" Vince asked. "Watch and learn." I walked into the restaurant and approached the hostess. "Excuse me, I think my friends just left. The couple that was at table 12, I was supposed to meet them, but I got held up at work." "Oh yes, they just left. Such a lovely couple. He paid for champagne for the whole dining room to celebrate their engagement." My vision went fuzzy around the edges. "Engagement?" "Yes, he proposed right here about an hour ago. So romantic." She said yes, of course. I thanked the hostess and walked back outside on unsteady legs. Vince took one look at my face and grabbed my arm. "What happened?" "He proposed. She said yes." "While she's still married to you?" "While she's still married to me." We watched Seth's Porsche disappear into traffic, carrying my wife and her new fiancé toward whatever hotel room they'd booked for their celebration. "Jack, I'm sorry, man. This is perfect." "Perfect? How is this perfect?" "Because now I know exactly what I'm dealing with. Eden doesn't just want out of our marriage. She wants to erase it completely. Pretend it never happened." "So what do we do?" I pulled out my phone and started scrolling through contacts. "We make sure everyone else remembers it perfectly." "Who are you calling?" "Tara Brennan, Eden's best friend from work." Tara answered on the 3rd ring, slightly out of breath. "Jack, is everything okay? Eden said you were working all weekend." "That's actually why I'm calling. I wanted to surprise Eden at the conference, but I can't remember which hotel she said, the Marriott or the Hilton." "Conference? Jack, Eden's not at any conference. She's in Boston with—" Tara stopped talking. "With who, Tara?" I can't. This is really awkward." "She's with Seth, isn't she?" Silence. "Tara, I already know. I just need to know how many people at her office know." "Jack, I'm so sorry. We thought you knew. The way she talks about you lately, we assumed you two were separated or something." "What does she say about me?" "Maybe this isn't the right conversation to have over the phone." "What does she say, Tara?" Another pause. "She says you're holding her back. that you're so focused on your failing company that you've forgotten how to be a husband. She says she feels like she's married to a stranger. And that justifies cheating? No, of course not. But Jack, she's been unhappy for a long time. Maybe this is for the best. I hung up and turned to Vince. Phase 1 complete. What was Phase 1? Confirmation. Now everyone at Eden's office knows that I know. By Monday morning, it'll be the only thing anyone's talking about. And Phase 2? Phase 2 is where things get interesting. We drove back to Manchester Heights in silence, but my mind was racing. Eden had spent months planning her exit strategy, building relationships, securing her future. She'd been playing chess while I was playing checkers. Time to change games. At home, I opened Eden's laptop again and started printing. Every text message, every email, every photo. I organized them by date, by person, by level of betrayal. When I was finished, I had a stack of papers 3 inches thick. Then I started making copies. Monday morning arrived with the kind of crisp autumn air that usually made me optimistic about new beginnings. Today, it felt like the perfect weather for ending things. Eden came home Sunday night full of stories about her amazing conference and breakthrough networking sessions. She even showed me a bag of promotional materials she'd apparently collected from various booths. Looks educational, I said, examining a pen from a company that didn't exist and a brochure for a seminar that was never scheduled. It really was. I learned so much about emerging HR trends. Like what? Oh, employee engagement strategies, retention metrics, that sort of thing. Retention metrics? Fascinating. Eden was either the world's most committed liar or she actually believed her own fiction. Either way, I was done pretending to be fooled. At the office, Vince was waiting with coffee and a concerned expression. How are you holding up? Better than expected. You remember that contact management system we built for the Henderson Group last year? The one that tracks communication patterns and relationship networks? Yeah, why? Think it would work for personal relationships? Jack, please tell me you're not planning to stalk your wife with our own software. Not stalk, research. There's a difference. I spent the morning mapping Eden's social connections, her work friends, gym buddies, college roommates, family members, everyone who might have an opinion about her marriage and her choices. Then I started making phone calls. Hi, Mrs. Brennan. This is Jack Halley, Eden's husband. I hope you don't mind me calling, but I wanted to get your advice about anniversary planning. Eden's mother was delighted to hear from me. We'd always gotten along well, and she'd been dropping hints about grandchildren for years. An anniversary party sounds wonderful, Jack. What can I do to help? Well, I was hoping to surprise Eden by inviting some of her work friends. The problem is, I don't have all their contact information. Could you help me reach out to Tara and Leah? Maybe some of the other women from her office? Of course. Eden talks about them all the time. Let me get my address book. By lunch, I'd spoken to Eden's mother, her sister, her college roommate, and 3 coworkers. Each conversation followed the same pattern. Enthusiastic support for the anniversary party, followed by uncomfortable silence when I mentioned how happy Eden seemed lately, especially after her weekend conferences. She's been going to a lot of those lately, her sister Jennifer mentioned, almost every weekend for the past few months. I know, she's really dedicated to her career development. That's great, Jack. Really great. The doubt in Jennifer's voice told me everything I needed to know. Eden's family was starting to put the pieces together. At 2:00, my phone rang. Tara. Jack, we need to talk. About the anniversary party. I'm so excited you can help. Not about the party, about Eden, and about what you're really doing. I don't know what you mean. You called 6 different people from Eden's office this morning. You asked the same questions, made the same comments about her weekend trips. Either you're the most thorough party planner in history, or you're trying to make a point. I leaned back in my office chair. What point would that be? That everyone knows what Eden's been doing, and now everyone knows that you know. Tara, I'm just trying to plan a nice surprise for my wife. By calling her mother and telling her how glowing Eden looks after her business trips? By asking her sister if she's noticed any changes in Eden's behavior lately? Come on, Jack, I'm not stupid. Neither am I. Silence stretched between us like a tightrope. What do you want? Tara finally asked. I want my wife to stop lying to me. I want her to stop lying to everyone else. And I want the people who've been covering for her to understand what they've been part of. Jack, did you know she got engaged this weekend while she's still married to me? She what? Seth proposed. She said yes. They celebrated at some fancy restaurant in Boston while I was home thinking she was at a conference. Oh my God. Jack, I had no idea. I mean, I knew about Seth, but I thought you two were separated. We're not separated, Tara. We're married. Or at least I thought we were. What are you going to do? I'm going to give Eden exactly what she's been asking for. Freedom. And Seth? Seth's going to learn that actions have consequences. That evening, Eden came home in an unusually good mood. She hummed while making dinner, smiled at nothing in particular, and even suggested we watch a movie together. You seem happy, I observed. Just had a good day at work. Sometimes everything clicks, you know? I do know. I had a good day too. Talk to your mother. Eden's knife stopped moving across the cutting board. My mother? Yeah, she called to check in. We had a nice long chat about family relationships, the importance of honesty in marriage. You should call her back. She seemed concerned about something. Concerned about what? She didn't say exactly, but she mentioned you've been traveling a lot lately for work. She wondered if everything was okay between us. Eden resumed chopping vegetables with mechanical precision. What did you tell her? I told her everything was fine, that you were just really dedicated to your career development, that all those weekend conferences were paying off. Good, that's good. Although what? She seemed surprised when I mentioned how many conferences you've been attending. Apparently she ran into Carol Peterson at the grocery store last week. Carol's daughter works in HR too, and she said there haven't been any major conferences in the region lately. The knife slipped, and Eden cursed under her breath. Careful, I said. You don't want to hurt yourself. She looked at me then, really looked at me, and I saw the exact moment she realized the game had changed. Jack, is there something you want to say to me? Just that I love you, Eden, and I want you to be happy. I am happy. Good. Because tomorrow, everyone who cares about you is going to know exactly how happy you are. Tuesday morning brought the kind of chaos I'd been hoping for. My phone started ringing at 7 a.m. and it didn't stop. First call, Eden's sister, Jennifer. Jack, what the hell is going on? Mom called me crying last night. She said Eden's been lying about work conferences and that you think she's having an affair. I don't think anything, Jennifer. I know. Know what, exactly? That your sister got engaged to another man this weekend while she's still married to me. The silence stretched so long I thought the call had dropped. Jennifer? I'm here. I'm just processing. Are you sure? I watched it happen. Oh, Jack, I'm so sorry. Second call, Leah Morrison, Eden's workout partner and social coordinator. Jack, Tara told me what happened. Is there anything I can do? Actually, yes. Could you help me plan something special for Eden? I think it's time everyone knew how committed she is to her new relationship. Third call, Vince, from the office. Turn on Channel 7 News. Why? Just turn it on. I flipped on the television and nearly dropped the remote. There was Seth Carmichael, standing in front of a half-built condo development, being interviewed about some charity fundraiser his company was sponsoring. And we're proud to support local families in need, Seth was saying. As someone who values commitment and community, I believe it's important to give back. The irony was so thick you could cut it with a knife. Did you see that? Vince asked. I saw it. The guy's talking about commitment while he's breaking up someone else's marriage. Not for much longer. Fourth call, Mrs. Birch, my 70-year-old neighbor who knew everyone's business before they knew it themselves. Jack, dear, I hope you don't mind me calling, but I couldn't help but notice that silver sports car in your driveway again yesterday. Silver sports car? The one that belongs to that Carmichael boy. He was here for about an hour while you were at work. I thought it was odd, since Eden's car wasn't in the driveway either. My stomach clenched. Eden wasn't home? No, dear. She left around noon in that blue sedan of hers. But the sports car showed up about an hour later. I assumed maybe he was dropping something off for you? What time did he leave? Oh, around 3 o'clock. He seemed to be in quite a hurry. Seth had been in my house. While Eden was out, while I was at work, Seth Carmichael had been in my home, probably going through my things, maybe looking for business documents or financial information. The violation felt worse than the cheating. I called a locksmith and had every lock in the house changed within 2 hours. Then I called my lawyer. Jim, it's Jack Halley. I need to ask you about asset protection. What kind of assets are we talking about? Everything. The house, the business, my personal accounts. I think my wife is planning to leave me, and I want to make sure she can't take what she didn't earn. How long have you been married? 8 years. Massachusetts is an equitable distribution state, Jack. She's entitled to a fair share of marital assets regardless of who earned them. Even if she's been cheating? Adultery can be a factor, but it's not automatic grounds for forfeiture. Do you have evidence? Boxes of it. Good. Bring everything to my office this afternoon. We'll discuss your options. By noon, Eden's entire social circle knew something was wrong. I hadn't told anyone the complete truth, but I'd shared enough details to let them draw their own conclusions. The whispers were spreading faster than a computer virus. At lunch, I drove to Seth's office building downtown. Carmichael Development occupied the entire 15th floor of a glass tower that screamed new money. The receptionist was young, blonde, and looked like she'd been hired more for decoration than filing skills. "I'm here to see Seth Carmichael," I told her. "Do you have an appointment?" "Tell him Jack Halley is here to discuss a business opportunity." She made the call, and within minutes, Seth appeared in the lobby. He was taller than I'd expected, with the kind of artificial tan that came from expensive salons and the confidence that came from never facing real consequences. "Jack Halley," he said, extending his hand. "I've heard a lot about you." "I'll bet you have." We shook hands, and I made sure to grip just a little too tight for just a little too long. Seth's smile faltered slightly. "Why don't we talk in my office?" Seth's office looked like a furniture showroom. Everything was leather and chrome, designed to impress clients who didn't know any better. The walls were covered with photos of Seth at charity events, groundbreaking ceremonies, and ribbon cuttings. "So," Seth said, settling behind his desk, "what kind of business opportunity are we discussing?" "The kind that involves my wife." Seth's face went carefully blank. "I'm not sure I follow." "Sure you do. You've been following Eden for months. Into restaurants, hotels, my house while I'm at work. You've been very thorough." "Jack, I think there might be some misunderstanding." "The only misunderstanding is yours. You think I'm some pathetic husband who doesn't know what's happening in his own marriage. You think I'm too busy with my failing company to notice my wife sneaking around." "I never said your company was failing." "No, but Eden did. In her text to you. The ones where she called me pathetic and embarrassing. The ones where she said she couldn't wait to get out of our marriage." Seth leaned back in his chair, and I saw him calculating his options. Deny everything? Try to intimidate me? Play the innocent victim? "Look, Jack, whatever problems you and Eden are having." "We don't have problems, Seth. We have solutions, and you're about to become one of them." "Are you threatening me?" "I'm informing you. By the end of this week, everyone in Manchester Heights is going to know exactly what kind of man you are. Your clients, your employees, your country club buddies. Everyone. You can't prove anything." I pulled out my phone and showed him a photo of him and Eden kissing outside the Boston restaurant. "Can't I?" Seth stared at the image, and I watched his confidence crumble like a house of cards. "What do you want?" "I want you to stay away from my wife. I want you to stay away from my house. And I want you to understand that if you try to interfere with my business or my personal life again, I'll make sure everyone knows that Seth Carmichael's idea of commitment is proposing to married women." "How did you know about the proposal?" "I know everything, Seth. The question is, what are you going to do about it?" I stood up and walked toward the door, then turned back. "Oh, and Seth, next time you want to go through someone's house, make sure the neighbors aren't watching." I left him sitting behind his expensive desk, staring at his hands like they held the answers to questions he was afraid to ask. The real confrontation was still coming. Wednesday evening, Eden came home with the kind of nervous energy that meant she'd been making plans. She moved around the house like a cat in a room full of rocking chairs, checking her phone every few minutes and jumping at small noises. "Everything okay?" I asked from the kitchen table, where I was reviewing business contracts. "Fine, just tired. Long day at work." "I'll bet. Tara mentioned you had some interesting conversations today." Eden froze halfway through opening the refrigerator. "What kind of conversations?" "About weekend conferences that don't exist, about engagement rings, about the difference between business trips and romantic getaways." She closed the refrigerator and turned to face me. "Jack, we need to talk." "I agree. Let's talk. Not here. This is too important for the kitchen." We moved to the living room, where Eden perched on the edge of the sofa like she was ready to run. I took the armchair across from her, the same chair where I used to read the newspaper on Sunday mornings while she made pancakes. Back when we were happy, or when I thought we were happy. "Jack, I know you've been asking questions. I've been getting answers. Some of those answers might be complicated." "Complicated how?" Eden twisted her wedding ring around her finger. The same ring I'd saved for 6 months to buy, working overtime at the manufacturing plant before I started my company. "I've been seeing someone." "Seth Carmichael." "Yes." "For how long?" 6 months. "And you got engaged to him this weekend." Eden's face went white. "How did you know?" "Because I followed you to Boston. I watched him propose. I talked to the hostess at the restaurant where you celebrated." "Jack, I can explain." Can you? Can you explain why you're still living in my house? Sleeping in my bed, pretending to be my wife while you were planning a future with another man? It's not that simple? It seems pretty simple to me. You wanted out of our marriage, but you didn't want to give up the security, so you decided to have both. Eden stood up and started pacing. You don't understand. Things between us have been broken for years. We're like strangers living in the same house. So you decided to fix that by bringing another stranger into our house. What? Seth was here yesterday. While you were out, while I was at work, Mrs. Birch saw him. He was just what? Looking for financial documents? Checking out what he'd be getting when you divorced me? It wasn't like that. Then what was it like, Eden? Help me understand. She stopped pacing and looked at me with something that might have been pity. Jack, your company is failing. You spend 18 hours a day chasing a dream that's never going to happen. When was the last time we had a real conversation? When was the last time you asked me about my day, my hopes, my plans? When was the last time you told me the truth about any of those things? I tried to talk to you. I tried to make this marriage work. But you're so obsessed with proving yourself as an entrepreneur that you forgot how to be a husband. So you decided to find a replacement husband without bothering to get rid of the original? Seth understands me. He supports my dreams. He doesn't see me as an obligation or a distraction. He sees you as a way to get information about my business. That's not true, isn't it? What did you tell him about the Patterson Industries deal? About our financial situation? About our client list? Eden's silence was answer enough. You've been feeding him information about my company. Seth was just trying to help. He thought maybe there were ways to... Ways to what? Take over my contracts? Steal my clients? Destroy what I've built so you could walk away with a clear conscience? Jack, you're being paranoid. Am I? Then why don't you call Seth right now and ask him to come over? Let's all sit down and discuss his helpful suggestions about my business. I can't do that. Why not? Because he's not available tonight. I pulled out my phone and showed her a photo I'd taken an hour earlier. Seth's Porsche parked outside the Anvil, where he was apparently drowning his sorrows after our conversation that afternoon. He's at the bar, Eden, probably telling anyone who'll listen about the crazy husband who threatened him today. You threatened him? I informed him. There's a difference. Eden sank back onto the sofa, and for the first time since I'd known her, she looked genuinely defeated. What do you want from me, Jack? I want you to leave. Leave? Hey, pack your things and go. Tonight. Go to Seth's place, go to your sister's house, go wherever you want, but don't sleep in my bed anymore. This is my house, too. No, it's not. I bought this house before we got married. It's in my name only. Just like my business, my car, and my bank accounts. You can't just throw me out. I'm not throwing you out. I'm giving you what you want. Freedom to be with Seth without having to lie about it anymore. Jack, please, can't we work this out? Can't we try counseling or... Counseling? You want to go to counseling with your fiancé's engagement ring in your purse? Eden looked down at her hands, and I saw the slight bulge in her jacket pocket where she'd been hiding the ring Seth had given her. I never meant for it to happen this way. How did you mean for it to happen? I thought you'd get tired of the business eventually, that you'd realize it wasn't working and find a regular job, that we could go back to being normal. Normal like sneaking around behind my back? Normal like lying to your family and friends? Normal like stealing information from your husband's company? I wasn't stealing. What would you call it? Eden stood up again, and I could see her switching tactics. The defeated wife was being replaced by the HR manager who knew how to handle difficult situations. Fine. You want me to leave? I'll leave. But this isn't over, Jack. I have rights. I have claims on marital property. You can't just erase 8 years of marriage because you're angry. Watch me. My lawyer will be in touch. Good. My lawyer is expecting the call. Eden went upstairs to pack, and I sat in the living room listening to her move around our bedroom. Drawers opening and closing, hangers scraping across the closet rod, the sound of a marriage ending one piece of clothing at a time. When she came back down with 2 suitcases and a garment bag, she paused at the front door. Jack, I really am sorry it ended this way. No, you're not. You're sorry you got caught. That's not fair. Fair? You want to talk about fair? Fair would have been asking for a divorce before you started planning your next marriage. Fair would have been honest conversations instead of secret text messages. Fair would have been treating me like a human being instead of an obstacle. I did love you once. Once doesn't count for much when you're wearing another man's ring. Eden left without another word, and I watched through the window as she loaded her car. Seth's Porsche pulled up just as she finished, and I saw them embrace in my driveway. Then they drove away together, leaving me alone in the house where we'd planned to build a life together. I poured myself a drink and sat down to wait for the next phase of my plan to unfold, because this wasn't over, not by a long shot. Thursday morning brought the kind of clarity that only comes after a storm passes. I woke up in my own house, in my own bed, without having to wonder what lies I'd hear over breakfast. For the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe. My phone was full of messages from people who'd heard about Eden leaving. Some offered sympathy. Others offered support. A few offered information I hadn't expected. The most interesting message came from Dave Peterson, who managed commercial properties downtown. "Jack, heard about you and Eden. Thought you should know. Seth Carmichael's been asking questions about your office lease. Wanted to know when it expires, what your rent situation looks like. Thought it was weird at the time, but now it makes sense. Seth wasn't just stealing my wife. He was trying to steal my business. I called Vince and asked him to meet me at the office early. When he arrived with coffee and donuts, I showed him Dave's message. 'That piece of garbage,' Vince said. 'He's been planning this whole thing.' Looks like it. The question is, what are we going to do about it? What can we do? We can't prove he was trying to sabotage us. We don't need to prove it. We just need to make sure everyone knows what kind of person he is." "How?" I opened my laptop and pulled up the files I'd been preparing for weeks. Screenshots of Eden's text messages, photos of her and Seth together, copies of emails discussing my business in detail. We're going to tell the truth. To who? To everyone. I started with Seth's business partners. Carmichael Development had 3 major investors, all of them local businessmen who valued reputation and integrity. I sent each of them a carefully worded email explaining that I'd discovered Seth had been using his relationship with my wife to gather confidential information about my company. I didn't accuse him of corporate espionage. I didn't threaten legal action. I simply presented the facts and let them draw their own conclusions. Next, I contacted the Manchester Heights Chamber of Commerce. Seth served on the board of directors and chaired the annual charity auction. I sent them copies of the text messages where Eden discussed Seth's plans to destroy Jack's pathetic little company and make sure he can't compete with real businesses. Then I called the local newspaper. "Hi, this is Jack Halley from Halley Tech Solutions. I'd like to place an ad in this week's business section." "What kind of ad?" "A thank you message to my wife and her fiancé for teaching me valuable lessons about trust and business ethics." The ad ran Friday morning, right next to Seth's company's regular advertisement for luxury condominiums. It was simple, direct, and devastating. "Thank you to Eden Halley and Seth Carmichael for demonstrating the importance of loyalty, honesty, and integrity in both personal and professional relationships. Your example has been truly educational. Jack Halley, founder, Halley Tech Solutions." By 10 a.m., my phone was ringing off the hook. The first call came from Patterson Industries. "Jack, this is Mike Patterson. I saw your ad in the paper this morning. Is everything all right?" "Everything's fine, Mike. Just acknowledging some recent lessons in business ethics." "I see. Well, I wanted to let you know that we've made a decision about the contract we discussed. We'd like to move forward with Halley Tech Solutions." "That's fantastic news. What changed your mind?" "Honestly, we had a meeting with Seth Carmichael yesterday. He pitched us on switching to his company for our technology needs. Said he had inside information about your operation that proved you weren't reliable." "Inside information?" "Details about your financial situation, your client relationships, your development timeline, things only someone with access to your confidential business information would know." "I see. The thing is, Jack, we don't do business with people who operate that way. If Seth Carmichael is willing to betray one business partner, he'll betray others. We want to work with people we can trust." The Patterson contract was worth $2 million over 3 years. It was enough to save my company and fund expansion into new markets. The second call came from one of Seth's investors. "Mr. Halley, this is Robert Chen from Chen Capital. We need to discuss the information you sent regarding Seth Carmichael." "What would you like to know?" "Everything. We're conducting a full review of our investment in his company, and we need to understand the scope of his extracurricular activities." The third call came from Eden. "Jack, what have you done?" "I told the truth. Why? Is that a problem?" "Seth's investors are pulling out. The Chamber of Commerce is reviewing his board position. His biggest clients are asking questions." "Sounds like consequences." "You're destroying his life." "I'm not destroying anything. I'm just making sure people have accurate information about the kind of person they're dealing with. This is revenge. This is justice." "Jack, please, can't we work this out privately?" "We could have worked it out privately 6 months ago, before you started cheating, before you started lying, before you and your boyfriend started plotting against my business. Seth never plotted against your business. Then why did he try to steal the Patterson contract? Why was he asking about my office lease? Why did he have inside information about my finances? Silence. Eden, you made your choice. Now you get to live with the consequences. What about my job? People at work are talking. HR is asking questions about my relationship with Seth and whether it created conflicts of interest. Did it? That's not the point. That's exactly the point. You used your position, your marriage, and your access to confidential information to help another man compete against your husband. What did you think would happen when people found out? I thought you'd be too weak to fight back. The honesty was startling. You thought wrong. I hung up and turned to Vince, who'd been listening to my side of the conversation with growing amazement. Did she really just say she thought you'd be too weak to fight back? She did. Man, she really doesn't know you at all. No, she doesn't. The final call of the day came from Red Murphy at the Anvil. Jack, you need to get down here. Now. What's wrong? Seth Carmichael is here, and he's drunk, angry, and telling anyone who'll listen that he's going to make you pay for ruining his life. I'll be right there. The Anvil was packed for a Friday evening, but the usual cheerful noise was replaced by tense murmurs. Seth was at the far end of the bar, surrounded by empty bottles and the kind of space that forms around someone who's making everyone else uncomfortable. When he saw me, he stood up with the careful precision of someone who's very intoxicated but trying to hide it. Jack Halley, he called out loud enough for the entire bar to hear. The man of the hour. Seth, you think you're so smart, don't you? Think you've won? I think I've survived. Survived? You've destroyed everything I built. No, Seth. You destroyed everything you built. I just made sure people knew about it. Seth took a step toward me, swaying slightly. You have no idea what you've started. I know exactly what I've started, and I know exactly how it ends. How does it end, Jack? I looked around the bar at the faces watching us. These were my neighbors, my community, people who'd known me for years, people who understood the difference between right and wrong. It ends with you learning that actions have consequences. It ends with Eden discovering that the man she thought would rescue her from her boring marriage is actually a coward who can't handle accountability. It ends with both of you understanding that you can't build happiness on someone else's misery. Seth's face was red with anger and alcohol. You self-righteous piece of... Careful, Seth. Everyone's watching. He looked around the bar and seemed to realize for the first time how many people were staring at him. The fight went out of him like air from a punctured balloon. This isn't over, he mumbled. Yes, it is. Seth stumbled toward the door, and I watched him leave. A few minutes later, I heard his Porsche start up and drive away. Red came over and set a whiskey in front of me. On the house, he said. Thanks. You know, Jack, I've been running this place for 20 years. I've seen a lot of people make a lot of mistakes, but I've never seen anyone handle a situation like this with as much class as you did. I don't feel classy. I feel tired. That's because you did the hard thing instead of the easy thing. The easy thing would have been to ignore it, or to get violent, or to just roll over and let them walk all over you. What was the hard thing? The hard thing was making them face the truth about themselves. I finished my drink and walked home through the quiet streets of Manchester Heights. In my pocket, my phone buzzed with a text message from an unknown number. Mr. Halley, this is Jennifer Walsh, Eden's sister. I wanted you to know that our family supports you completely. Eden made her choices, and now she has to live with them. You deserved better. At home, I sat in my kitchen and looked around at the space that was finally, truly mine again. No more lies, no more deception, no more wondering what was real and what was performance. My company was saved, my reputation was intact, my marriage was over, but my integrity wasn't. The final invoice had been paid, and the account was settled.